Now we are honored to hear from Rabbi Lopatin, a great Rhodes Scholar and the Director of Community Relations at the Jewish Federation of Greater Ann Arbor, Michigan. He has recently led multiple delegations to Syria. A true spiritual diplomat, he speaks today on the new Syria and the religious imperative to build bridges with nations, often deemed adversaries.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be presenting at this International Interfaith Conference of Spiritual Diplomats United in Liberty. My deep gratitude to Pastor Mark Burns and all the organizers and participants. You know, there's an old Jewish joke that mixes humor with some warning if we don't heed the word of God. A man's house is caught in a great flood. He sees a large piece of wood floating by, but instead of grabbing it, he says to himself, I'm going to wait for God, for the God that I pray to. Then miraculously, someone from a boat throws him a life jacket. The man says, no, I'm waiting for God to send me God's relief. Soon a helicopter swoops overhead and sends down a ladder, and the man refuses to get on because he says, I'm waiting for God to save me. Well, eventually the water swallows him up. He dies, goes to heaven, and at the pearly gate he demands of God, or St. Peter, if you're Christian, where were you, God? I prayed to you for salvation, you ignored me. And God, or St. Peter, says, who do you think sent the wood? Who sent the boat? Who sent the helicopter? Well, the lesson is that God sometimes sends us the greatest of opportunities, and it is our important responsibility to seize them and not ignore them. And I feel that the new Syria is a great opportunity for America, for the Middle East, and for the Jewish state of Israel. But it takes someone with vision like our great President of the United States to realize what an opportunity it is. Weeks after Ahmad al-Sharaa, Abu Jalani defeated Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator who killed 1 million of his own people, I got a call from my good friend, Dr. Yahya Basha, a Syrian Muslim doctor whose family had been murdered by the Assad regime. It was clear to Dr. Basha, and he said clear to many Syrians, that it was Israel's defeat of Hezbollah and weakening of Iran that gave the Syrian rebels the ability to oust Assad. And Dr. Basha was celebrating. Dr. Basha is a spiritual diplomat who, in addition to building MRI clinics all over Detroit, has dedicated himself to building bridges with the Jewish community over the decades and trying to lead the Muslim community in the direction of peace. So with Dr. Basha's influence and perhaps an awareness that the new Syria owed Israel for their success, the Sharaa government invited Jews to return to Syria for the first time in 30 years. Dr. Basha told me I needed to go just 2 months after the new government came to power. Yes, the government understood that good relations with the Jewish community meant good things for Syria. Sanctions relief, business opportunities, the ear of President Trump. Good for the Syrian government, recognizing how the Jewish people can be allies and not enemies. And that took a lot of vision and independent thinking. Syrians were always taught that Jews in Israel were the enemy. Now we had a leader of Syria who understood exactly the opposite. And we were welcomed by everyone in Syria as Americans. But even more impressive, when people saw that I was Jewish by seeing my kippah coming out of a synagogue in Damascus, they celebrated. Jews returning to Syria meant that Assad was truly gone. Since this first February trip, I have returned twice, leading 2 Jewish delegations, one with an Israeli reporter, David Horowitz. I wore my kippah everywhere and received the same joyous welcome from teenagers, from kids to older adults, and even armed guards who wanted to take their picture with me. At our visit with the president of the University of Damascus, I openly told faculty, students, and administrators that, yes, I am a Zionist, and I hope that Syria and Israel will become best friends. And while some were surprised, most understood. And I believe sincerely that the Sharaa administration understands. For over a decade, Syrians were tortured and killed by Assad's allies, Hezbollah and Iran and Russia. and Hezbollah alone killed tens of thousands of Syrians. So now Syria and its leadership understand that those who obsess with destroying Israel and America, Hezbollah, Iran, ISIS, Houthis, they are not friends. They are enemies of the new Syria, just as they are enemies of Israel and America. So after 3 trips, meeting with the minister of the Muslim Waqf, the minister of the economy and labor and social affairs, and many, many in the Foreign Office, I now am invited 2 more times to bring Jewish leaders, business leaders, and rabbis. And I can say with faith that a strong, unified Syria can be a great ally of America and Israel. God bless President Donald Trump for seeing this early on when he met with Shara in May. And now, as a strong supporter of Israel, I ask Israel to understand this. I believe God is sending America and Israel the wood, the boat, the helicopter. Israel has to figure out how to use all these opportunities while maintaining security. But I believe having a strong, unified Syria can be the best allies for Israel's security against its greatest enemies. Part of being a spiritual diplomat is seeing diplomacy and building unlikely bridges and breaking down old, outdated divisions and seeing that all, as the pastor said, as holy work accomplished by trusting in God to guide us into crucial opportunities, to the boat, to the helicopter. At these times, I think of the courage that it took for the great Martin Luther King to join with rabbis and Jewish leaders to fight together. Folks with different religions and backgrounds, but united in spirit and understanding and a respect for all human beings created in God's image. That is the courage needed to follow everything we see in the new Syria and Israel. And with America's blessing and hard work, Israel, Syria, America, and all those who love and want peace can be the greatest of friends and allies to prevail together against the forces against peace that surround both countries in the ultimate victory of light over darkness. Thank you.
Thank you.